Hello and a warm welcome. You're watching the NewsTrack. I'm Rahul Kamal. The semi-finals in India are almost over. Attention in a short while from now will squarely be focused on the big final, the general elections of 2024. Is brand Modi still as potent and as undiminished as it was in the build-up to the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, or has the sheen started to wear off just slightly? Has anti-incumbency begun to catch on, or is the brand still as potent as it was and has been over the last 9.5 years? To talk about this, we are joined on this special broadcast by some very sharp authors, thinkers. I want to start by introducing, first and foremost, Shashi Shekhar Vempati, author of Collective Spirit, Concrete Action, Man Ki Baat, and its influence on India, former chief executive at Prasar Bharati. Welcome, Mr. Vempati. Flanking him is Rashid Kidwai, author of Bharat Ke Pradhan Mantri, Leaders, Politicians and Citizen. Welcome. Vijay Trivedi joins us, author of Haar Nahi Mangunga. It's a book on Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. And to my right, I want to welcome Anshula Vijit, national spokesperson of the Congress party. We have Shehzad Poonawala from the Bharatiya Janata Party, and the man in the middle, Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay, author of Narendra Modi, The Man and the Times. He's also written a book on the demolition and the verdict, Ayodhya and the project to reconfigure India. So welcome to all our guests, and thank you for taking out time to join us in person. We're so much in the times of Zoom that it's very difficult to put together a gathering like this. So I'm deeply thankful. I want to start by asking Mr. Vempati, if brand Modi, in your view, building up to the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, is as undiminished as it was in the last election campaign, or do you think only inevitably, 10 years into his prime ministership, some level of anti-incumbency has caught on, and that the next election won't be as easy as the last election?
Yeah. So let me split these two, right? I think brand Modi continues to be as strong as ever before, perhaps even stronger, definitely undiminished. Mr. Modi has had an incredible year, if you look at it, coming out of COVID, setting the economy on a growth path with the G20 summit, Chandrayaan. So a series of successes that have built his global persona, and you can see that with these approval tracking numbers that track global readers in different countries, and you see that his numbers have been steady and hardly dipping. Now, to your second question of anti-incumbency, I think Indian politics is a complex politics because it's a very diverse country. You have different dynamics in states, in different regions. So I would decouple these two because there could be different dynamics playing in different parts of the country. But as a nation as a whole, clearly Mr. Modi's appeal, his stature is not just undiminished. I think it is on the upward rise.
Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay, do you agree? You've profiled the Prime Minister, written biographies on the man. Is the brand as undiminished, or do you think that's an unfair question because 10 years into the same job, there is bound to be a certain level of anti-incumbency? The level of anti-incumbency can be debated, but that there is anti-incumbency cannot be questioned. It's only inevitable.
You have to understand that somebody like Mr. Modi, basically from the time that he became chief minister, especially after the 2002 riots in Gujarat, from that time he has been the single most polarizing figure in the country. This became particularly heightened when we reached before the 2014 election. So I would not talk in terms of brand Modi being at the same level or not, but essentially Mr. Modi remains as polarizing a figure as he always was.
No, but answer my question. We'll come to polarization later. Is the brand as undiminished, or is the sheen coming off on the edges?
At the moment, Mr. Modi appears to be a bit on the defensive compared to what it appeared.
Why do you feel he's on the defensive?
I think a series of events which have happened from March onwards, beginning with several opposition parties coming together for the first ever joint petition which was filed in the Supreme Court. So there has been a certain
the India
amount...
Alliance hasn't even met for the last several weeks.
Well, the India Alliance need not meet at the moment because they are fighting, elections which are essentially bipolar states. So there is really no space for a combined India Alliance in a state like Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh or Chhattisgarh. That is an alliance which is essentially for the Lok Sabha. They will talk about it depending on what is the verdict. If it is a verdict which gives Congress a huge head start while they are negotiating with the India alliance, that's going to be scenario one. If the Congress does not perform very well, then it is going to be the smaller parties which would possibly dictate terms to the Congress party.
So you're feeling, Shehzad Poonawalla, that the biographer of Modi thinks that this is a brand that's now more on the defensive than it was in the last campaign. That's the difference Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay is reading.
On the contrary, Nilanjan's thesis actually endorses the fact that brand Modi has only gotten stronger, and so strong that those who couldn't see eye to eye from Jammu Kashmir to Kerala are now embracing in this unholy alliance. Or dal to mil rahe parantu dil nahi mil rahe. But they all have to come together to take on this brand which has only grown from strength to strength. Let me make another point. The point is that, look, what has happened? Today we are on 26/11, 15 years after the terrible terror strikes that struck the financial capital of this country. At that time we had a leadership that would look above its shoulders, wait for an endorsement. There were bomb blasts every 2 or 3 weeks. Mumbai, Delhi, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Coimbatore, Chennai, Jaipur, Pune, my city, which was never affected by bomb blasts. And today you have a leadership that doesn't give Pakistan MFN, most favored nation status. But if they do Uri or Pulwama, there is a Balakot airstrike or a surgical airstrike. It is MTJ, muh tod jawab status, ghar mein ghus ke marenge. That is the delivery of Prime Minister Modi when it comes to national security. On the other hand, what is brand Modi? Brand Modi basically comes with A, B, C, D, E. A for Arthvyavastha. The Arthvyavastha has gone from 10th to 5th, going to 3rd. Even the IMF has said we are the fastest growing, largest economy. Then B, Bhrashtachar Mukt. Even the worst opponents can't make a corruption allegation stick to Modi, whether it's Rafale or whether it's anything else. So it's Bhrashtachar Mukt Shasan. Then C for credibility. The credibility comes whether it's on Article 370, we will get done away with it. We have got done away with it. Ram Mandir is today being built, and Ram Mandir will be ready on 22nd of January. Whatever we promised, even during the days of Jansang, is being delivered. D for delivery. Delivering 13 crore people out of poverty, doubling per capita income, doubling infrastructure, making 70 airports in the last 8 years, which was done in 70 years before. Taking the infrastructure ahead, delivering on the economy,
so
delivering on poverty.
Almost went to sleep.
If we compare...
No, I understand you'll be put to snooze mode because you don't have a leader that can match to the credibility of Prime Minister Modi. So
Anshul, if we compare with 10 years of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, at the end of it, you know, anti-incumbency could be seen everywhere on all the rallies, the Maidans, Ramlila Maidan, the anti-corruption movement. There was visible, palpable anti-incumbency. It was not a question of whether the government will be voted out. It will be how many seats will they fall to, how many will the BJP win. Do you concede in comparison, the Prime Minister and the BJP have been able to keep anti-incumbency far lower than on your watch in the UPA?
No, Rahul, what are the attributes of brand Modi? And how do you judge popularity and incumbency? Well, in a democracy, there is only one quantifiable way of measuring that. That is the number of votes which were polled. In 2019, the BJP got above 37% of the votes. That means the opposition got more than 63%, about 63% of the votes. That is the only way you can judge the fact that the people at the height, possibly, of success, more people were against him than they were for him. Now let's look at the number of states that the BJP is in power. Of course, in all their campaigning, whether it's winning states through subterfuge, in the cover of darkness, or turning, politics into a marketplace, they're barely in power in 10 or 12 states out of 28. And they've won all, and they've gone to these states with the figure, the insignia of Modi in all of them. Did they do that in Karnataka? They win in Himachal? Is that a sign of his popularity? Is that the sign of brand Modi? What are the attributes of brand Modi? What does he stand for? What has he stood for in the last 9 years? I'll give you just quickly a couple of reasons what he stands for. In 9 years, what Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister, has done is put this country on trial. Right? There are loyalties, there are rewards, there are also punishments, and through that, he's manufactured his popularity. Of course, popularity can be a self-fulfilling prophecy, but there is a kind of a coercive charisma that he's manufactured.
How can popularity be a self-fulfilling prophecy? I mean,
no. So I'll tell you what he's doing. He's manufacturing a coercive charisma through a politics of rewards and what he's done and punishments, right? So he's weaponized agencies in order to create an atmosphere in politics where...
Do you remember how Mulayam Singh and Amar Singh used to speak about the Congress at that time using the CBI against them on the trust vote and
not
various
just
other
CBI,
issues?
I'm talking about 22-year-old environmental activists who become threat to the state. I'm talking about civil society. I'm talking about demonizing communities. I'm talking about binary dispositions. I'm talking about creating civilizational conflicts. A number of things has been done. And I'm also talking about the role of the media that has acted as a force multiplier to promote what we call his popularity and to cement his brand.
No,
so
but
his
listen,
brand is
when
not a
a Morning
meritocracy.
Consult, which is an international polling agency, which has nothing to
Yeah,
do with any Indian agency, finds Prime Minister Modi to be the top-rated, most popular politician in the world. That has nothing to do with anybody sitting
So
here.
I'm giving you the reasons, Rahul, why that has happened. There is a particular politics behind the brand that has made it. There are politics of stoop to conquer, the politics of turning everything into a marketplace, the politics of demonization, the politics of the press, which has become force multipliers. There is a reason why things have happened the way they have. And so the numbers come out, though, more attractive. But will you dispute the fact that in a democracy, it is quantifiable votes that ultimately determine your success?
Okay.
So far,
So,
yeah.
let me put that question to Rashid Kidwai. Is the brand as strong, or do you think because it is used so frequently in all polls, whether it's an assembly election, sometimes even in a municipal election, that it is only inevitable that the brand not be as fresh as it was 9 years ago, even 5 years ago?
Absolutely, Rahul. The brand is certainly diminishing. It was evident in the elections of Karnataka. It was evident in the elections of Himachal Pradesh. And if this ongoing round of this 5 states election, you will see the outcome would prove it. And I think the entire thing...
No,
is
but we
actually...
saw in 2018 and 19, the outcome of the assembly election results had nothing to do with the Lok Sabha results.
Rahul, you see, the elections are something that you cannot sit on your past achievements, etc. It's like Donald Bradman. He was the greatest of all, but look what happened in the last inning. So that is what I'm saying. You have to win. You have to play each inning. आपको हर पारी ऐसे खेलनी है कि जीतने के लिए.
Do you think
one more thing? Just quickly, I want to add this thing. See, Mr. Modi's popularity, going by all those popular ratings, have never been less than 50%. And while the BJP
It's 70% plus.
Yeah, 70% plus, 60% plus, 50% plus. But BJP ratings have been 31% and 38%. So the question is, Mr. Modi may be very popular, but that does not mean it will translate into a BJP victory.
No, so Vijay Trivedi, there is an idea there that a lot of people are assuming that in 2024, Prime Minister Modi is likely to win because of all the data and the numbers. Rashid's point is, this is the semi-final, it has nothing to do with the final. India played really well for 10 matches and then just collapsed. The final is the final. You can't look at what's happened in the last 9.5 years to try and determine the outcome of the finals. Do you buy that?
बिल्कुल ठीक बात है, लेकिन इसका थोड़ा सा ट्विस्ट है राहुल साहब. आपने सेमीफाइनल से शुरू किया. क्रिकेट के सेमीफाइनल और फाइनल में और पॉलिटिक्स के सेमीफाइनल फाइनल में ये फर्क है कि क्रिकेट का सेमीफाइनल जब हार जाते हैं तो फाइनल नहीं जाते आप. यहाँ अभी पूरी पोजीशन है, पूरी जगह होती है कि आप सेमीफाइनल हार भी जाए तो भी आप फाइनल उसी ताकत के साथ खेल सकते हैं. तो 2018 का एग्जाम्पल भी आपने दिया है कि किस तरह से हो रहा है. तो और यदि आप वोटिंग परसेंटेज देखें तो विधानसभा से लोकसभा में प्राइम मिनिस्टर की वोटिंग परसेंटेज 10% ज्यादा है भारतीय जनता पार्टी को भी. जो विधानसभा में मिल रही है, मोदी जब उसमें फैक्टर जुड़ जाता है तो लोकसभा में 10% वोट उसको ज्यादा मिल रहा है. तो ये एक बड़ी बात है. दूसरी बात, डेमोक्रेसी के लिए कहा जाता है, एक बड़ी बात होती है सरकार को लेकर गुस्सा होता है, जो 10 साल में एंटी इनकम्बेंसी होती है. पहली बात सरकार के जाने के लिए. दूसरी बात है कोई उनके मुकाबले में ऑल्टरनेट है. दूसरी बात. तीसरी बात है क्या जनता सरकार बदलना चाहती. ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर है. उन दो फैक्टर में जब तक ये फैक्टर नहीं इंक्लूड होता कि क्या सरकार बदलना चाहती है जनता, और ये प्रेसिपिटेट होता है, जो अपोजिशन लीडर्स हैं वो एंटी इनकम्बेंसी को प्रेसिपिटेट कर पाए, वो आज प्रेसिपिटेट नहीं हो रहा. और जनता में आज की तारीख में जहां बैठे हैं वहां ये दिखाई नहीं दे रहा कि जनता ये सरकार बदलना चाहती. और अभी आप इतना परेशान क्यों हैं? 1962 का रिकॉर्ड तो तोड़ने दीजिए जवाहरलाल नेहरू का. 3 बार प्रधानमंत्री रहे हैं जवाहरलाल नेहरू.
But in 2004 as well, Mr. Empathy, there wasn't that much visible anti-incumbency. And yet Vajpayee ji lost and the Congress and Sonia Gandhi won. So the Congress's big hope is that in the cycle of things, a certain level of anti-incumbency builds up, that it is only inevitable that the government not do as well. They may not get voted out just yet, but they may not do as well as they did in the last elections. Plus the opposition seems to be coming together more sharply than it did last time.
So I think there's a lot of wishful thinking there, but let me just clarify one thing. This whole thing about 38% and 50%, and I think there's a logical flaw there. Firstly, it's not just the BJP. You got to look at the entire NDA, its alliances votes. Secondly, even in 1984, when Rajiv Gandhi won a landslide after Indira Gandhi was assassinated, the Congress did not get 50% plus vote share because it's a first past the post system. So this entire logic of more than half of the country is against him is nonsense. It doesn't work that way. Secondly, to your question about is the Congress and is the opposition seeing a silver lining or a hope here? I think it's important to recognize just by listening to the Congress spokesperson here how disconnected they are from the reality. The country is right now looking at with a lot of optimism, a lot of hope on the economic growth, India's standing in the world, what the potential opportunities are, the possibilities are for the future. And I think what I don't see from the Congress or any of the opposition is a narrative around that hope, around that confidence.
So that's the point that Vijay Trivedi makes as well, Anshul. The fact that you haven't been able to build a narrative of hope. All the ideas are potentially regressive ideas, whether it's a caste survey or something. These aren't things Rahul Gandhi and the Congress genuinely believes in, because when you were in government, you weren't pushing for it. Now you think of it as an idea of mobilizing caste groups in your support. But you haven't been able to build enough anti-incumbency the way the BJP was against you.
No. First of all, even if you look at the manifestos in the state elections, the BJP manifesto is a cut and paste job of the Congress manifesto. I mean, it's clear from all their schemes, they've just looked at us and said it. We've run our state elections, first of all, on a highly positive campaign, and we've constantly critiqued the economic policies. They've wrecked the economy after demonetization. They've completely wrecked the economy and thrown it under the bus. The GDP, which Shehzad spoke about, it was 8%. We gave it as a gift to this government, and they plummeted. It fell dramatically after to minus 6.6. This was the doing of the government. They have no idea of macroeconomic policy, something that we've critiqued throughout. And we keep comparing it to our experience in the UPA government, which consistently gave you an economy of 8%. And not only that...
Let Shehzad respond to this point, that you first critique freebies and then you campaigned in Rajasthan and even elsewhere. A lot of the campaign promises are replicas of what the Congress did. So then where is the opposition to freebies? Your brand is being diminished because you're not acting like a center-right party. You're basically copying some of the freebie ideas because they're populist and they may give Anshul's party some votes in these elections.
Well, that is actually not true. And by the way, first on the economy and then coming to your question, the economy, when it was left by Manmohan Singh and their ilk, was $2 trillion. Today, the economy is $4 trillion. They left the inflation under the Arthashastri of about 10% per annum. Today, the inflation rate is down to 5% on average. So who managed the economy better? We took out 13 crore people out of poverty. And today, the economy, by every agency in the world, is being called as the fastest growing, largest economy. That's on the economy. As far as the freebies is concerned, what have we said in Rajasthan? In Rajasthan, they promised a cell phone to every girl in Rajasthan, every woman in Rajasthan, which is 1.5 crore cell phones. They ended up giving only 17 lakhs. They told the courts, we don't have the money for the rest because they could not even pay salaries. We, on the other hand, in our manifesto, and I gave this example on your channel yesterday, Himanshu was there, we said that if the girl passes the 12th standard in a meritorious way, so that she can access higher education, and higher education, one of the obstacles is to reach safely to the higher education institute, we will only give the meritorious girl who has passed the 12th standard a scooty. We have not promised it across the board. There's a fundamental difference being, okay, let me tell you what else we have done. We have given 10 crore women and people in this country free toilets, and we are proud of giving these toilets because every time a toilet is given, the woman does not have to think about whether she has to go in the morning or evening. She can go and relieve herself and stay safe, healthy and hygienic and use that time to access education. This is not a freebie. It is welfare.
Is the... once again, this debate between welfare and freebies in the manifestos that have come out in the assembly election and the promises that are being made, is that getting diluted, or do you think it is still as sharp as Shehzad would like us to believe?
There's a bit of a paradox in the sense that Mr. Modi initially used to, even before he became Prime Minister, he would say that I don't give anything free. He's announced free food to 80 crore Indians. Now,
that's not a recent promise. That's a very old promise, post-pandemic.
That it is going to continue for another 5 years. That is what's been announced. And assurance that it is going to stay in force for 5 years. Now, that's a fairly long window. The other way of looking at it is that the government realizes that for 5 more years, 80 crore people would not be able to buy food which is required for the daily subsistence. That is a big thing.
No, is that the realization or they want to make life easier for these poor?
Essentially, I think it's an indication of Mr. Modi's failure to be able to generate jobs
Mr.
in the
Vempati,
country.
that this is an acknowledgement of your inability to feed people, to create jobs.
Rahul, may I
Just
just
one second. Let Mr. Vempati respond.
No, I don't agree with that. I think if you look at Mr. Modi's philosophy, right, it has always been a combination of a safety net and a ladder of opportunity. This is the safety net while he creates an economy of growth, which creates a ladder of opportunities for people to rise. I think that is the fundamental difference between his approach to the economy and his approach to politics versus whatever we have heard from the opposition, which is all scorched earth politics, with regressive ideas like caste census, which are only going to take the country back, not take the country forward.
May I, Rahul, please come in very quickly. I understand a lot of people want to speak. Let me explain this free food and free things that we are talking about. The free food thing is when the economy is rising, there is increased demand, there's obviously going to be food inflation. A lot of people who are now coming out of COVID need that safety net. If they do not have the right amount of nutrition, it suffers, their health suffers, which means additional health expenses, hospital expenses, which the government has to bear. Let me give you another example. The free tap connection or the free toilet.
Can I quip that?
One second, let me complete. The free toilet scheme has ended up saving 70,000 per household per annum in health expenses. Now, had these people not had free toilets, they would have fallen sick more often or due to lack of clean water, which would have meant that the state has to spend more money on them in hospitals, which are anyways free treatment for them. And therefore, rather than give them free treatment at the hospital, you ensure that they have free food, free toilets, or they have access to clean water, because of which their health is better and they can contribute more to the economy. And I understand Anshul is getting mad at the media, that media is building the brand Modi. Bhai, aapka product kharab hai. Aapka product itna kharab hai, whatever packaging you put on it, the product is the same. Ab wo product relaunch nahi hota, to ye media ke upar cheek rahe, chilla rahe.
No, because the strength of the brand, Anshul, is also always relative to what the brand is up against. If you're comparing, say, Donald Bradman with a person who's nowhere close to Donald Bradman, it'll always look inferior. So Shehzad's point is, we've got a mix of Rohit and Kohli, and you've got a tail ender, and that's not our fault, which is why our brand looks stronger.
No. The Prime Minister is fighting against himself and his own deception. What is his brand? What are the various attributes of his brand? I'll just come to that, but a few misconceptions have been laid here. First of all, 13.5 crore people were never taken out of poverty as were claimed, because you've not even done a consumer expenditure survey, which is the only barometer of measuring poverty, which was last done in the Manmohan Singh government. This government does not even know that 80 crore people need to be given free food gains. How do they know they're not 100 crore? Have you done a decadal census? How do they know it's not 120 crores?
Okay.
Rahul, to answer this basic question.
No, they have to
How
do
do
the
they know? But
census.
they
The
haven't.
census
Which
is getting
census have they
delayed.
done? They have.
जो डेटा अच्छा नहीं लगता शाहजाद साहब वो दबा देते हो.
एक ही डेटा है राहुल, वो है कंज्यूमर एक्सपेंडिचर सर्वे,
ऐसा
उससे
है।
पता चलता है. और इन्होंने किया था
एक सेकंड।
2000 ने एक मिनट
इनकी समस्या डेटा है, ये डेटा कर रहा है, मैं क्या बोलूं?
2017 में
इनकी
इन्होंने
समस्या
एक
बेटा है।
कंज्यूमर एक्सपेंडिचर सर्वे किया था, उसमें पता चला कि इतने सारे गरीब हैं, तो उनको बेरी कर दिया इन लोगों ने.
Okay. So you mentioned Himanshu. Himanshu is here with us in the audience. I'm going to get him to ask the next question. Go on, Himanshu.
शहजाद, कल भी मेरी आपसे बात हुई, आप पूरे जवाब नहीं देते हैं. एक्चुअल क्या है, 450 रुपए में उज्ज्वला आप महिलाओं को दे रहे हैं. वो चीज उत्तर प्रदेश की महिलाओं को क्यों नहीं मिलेंगी? क्यों नहीं जो है मध्य प्रदेश में देने की बात करते हैं, आसाम में और गुजरात में देने की बात करते हैं? चुनाव में जा रहे हैं. आप राजस्थान की बात कर रहे हैं, आप किसान सम्मान निधि को 6,000 से बढ़ाकर 12,000 कर रहे हैं. क्या गलत है? लाडली दादी योजना 1,000, वंदन योजना में आप 5,000 से बढ़ा के 8,000 कर रहे हैं. तो फ्री बीस पे तो आप भी है ना. अटल बिहारी एक सेकंड अटल बिहारी ज्योति योजना में 100 यूनिट फ्री देने की बात कही है आपने मध्य प्रदेश में. आप राजस्थान की बात करें, बाकी प्रदेशों में भी तो आप फ्री बीस पे जा ही रहे हैं ना.
मैं एक एक करके इसका जवाब देता हूं.
राहुल,
जहां तक सवाल है, इन्होंने कहा कि हमने राजस्थान में लाडली बहना के एक रिप्लिका स्कीम को लाया है. मध्य प्रदेश में जब पहली बार मुख्यमंत्री शिवराज सिंह चौहान बने, तब उन्होंने लाडली लक्ष्मी शुरू की थी, तब कोई चुनाव नहीं था। उसके बाद मुख्यमंत्री कन्यादान योजना, क्योंकि वहां पे सामाजिक परिस्थितियां ऐसी थी कि बेटियों की शादी एक बहुत बड़ा बोझ बन जाती थी परिवारों पे, और हमारी सामाजिक प्रवृत्ति जब तक चेंज ना हो तब तक इसको लागू करना जरूरी था। उसमें जो कार्रवाई की गई वहां पर, केवल ये नहीं, सुरक्षा को लेकर, महिलाओं के शिक्षा को लेकर, तो वहां पर जो सेक्स रेशियो 912 था मध्य प्रदेश में, वो 956 हुआ। अब राजस्थान की परिस्थिति यह है कि महिला उत्पीड़न में आज राजस्थान नंबर 1 बना है। तो राजस्थान की महिलाओं को केजी से लेकर पीजी तक सशक्त करने का प्रधानमंत्री मोदी का पूरे के पूरा प्लान है। उनकी हर योजना के केंद्र में उज्ज्वला हो, मुद्रा हो, जनधन अकाउंट हो, चाहे शौचालय हो, नल से जल हो, या जो पक्के आवास देना हो, सब में महिलाएं।
Once again, his question is simple. Why can't the LPGs at the same price be made available in non-election states?
I'm coming to that also. वैसे कांग्रेस जो राजस्थान में 500 का दे रही थी, वो कर्नाटका में 500
आप
का नहीं
अपना
दे रही।
बताओ।
मैं अपना बता रहा हूं। मैं पहले इनका भी तो बता दूं,
और
हमारा भी बताता हूं। मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जो सिलेंडर 900 रुपए का है, वो पूरे देश में 600 रुपए में उज्ज्वला उपभोक्ताओं को मिलता है। 300 रुपए का उन्होंने कम किया है प्राइस। अब राजस्थान में स्थिति यह बनी इनकी सरकार के चलते, सबसे ज्यादा महंगाई दर राजस्थान के परिवारों को झेलना पड़ा। 9.5% इन्फ्लेशन, 11.5 रुपए प्रति यूनिट बिजली का, सबसे ज्यादा पेट्रोल और डीजल पर वैट, बगल में गुजरात, उत्तर प्रदेश में 10-12 रुपए कम है। तो इन परिस्थितियों को देखते हुए राजस्थान की महिलाओं को कुछ समय तक हमने यह निर्णय किया है कि जो 600 में हमारी देश की महिलाओं को घरों को मिलता है, वो राजस्थान में 450 का मिलेगा। इन्होंने कौन सा दिया? इन्होंने 100 रुपया देकर क्रेडिट 500 का लिया।
हमने 300 का दाम कितना है शहजाद? 1100 तो गैस सिलेंडर है। एक्साइज ड्यूटी कितनी है पेट्रोल की? नहीं, आप मुझे बताइए, एक्साइज ड्यूटी पेट्रोल और डीजल की कितनी?
I want to broaden the arc of this debate to basically make this point that when you look at transformative figures in their countries, take a Margaret Thatcher or a Tony Blair, by the time their third election came, there was a visible sense of anti-incumbency. Rashid Kidwai, in that sense, is Prime Minister Modi different from some of the other international leaders in the US? You can't find a third pole, but where you can, how do you look at this international comparison?
I think the entire model is flawed. One can, as far as success is defining it, it looks good. You see, we have a parliamentary democracy where members of parliament are supposed to elect a prime minister. Here we have a situation in 2014 and 2019 as if the prime minister was electing, the members of parliament. You look at the case of, Jyotiraditya Scindia when he lost election. Many of people who had voted against Scindia did not know who the candidate was. So if this is a situation in Guna, it was there in several other states. So it is flawed. It is bound to show, a weakness on the part of the BJP in the time to come. Look at the state elections. Mr. Modi is saying, I'm there. I'm at stake. Vote for me. Don't look at the candidate. He's been saying it increasingly and with good results. I agree with you, Rahul, but this is not a sustainable model.
Do you agree with Rashid? He says ये बार-बार सेम चेहरा दिखा के सेम बात करके आप बार-बार सेम प्रॉमिस करके नहीं जीत सकते। आपको प्रॉमिस चेंज करना होगा या फिर आदमी चेंज करना होगा। सेम प्रॉमिस एक ही बार इनकैश होता है।
नहीं चलता, ये बिल्कुल ठीक बात है। लेकिन मैं फिर प्रेसिपिटेशन पर आता हूं, जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट इशू मैं समझता हूं। 80 करोड़ लोगों को आप मुफ्त में अनाज दे रहे हैं और ताल ठोक रहे हैं 5वीं इकोनॉमी की। ये कंट्राडिक्शन नहीं है? दुनिया में 5वीं नंबर की सबसे बड़ी इकोनॉमी है और 80 करोड़ लोग इस देश में ऐसे हैं जिनके पास खाना नहीं है।
एक तो सीढ़ी बन रही है और
सीढ़ी नहीं, 80 करोड़ लोगों को जरूरत क्यों है? यदि इकोनॉमी अच्छी है, हम लोग फल फूल रहे हैं, क्या आपके घर में जरूरत है? शशि की बात नहीं, मैं अंशुल से बात कर रहा हूँ। दूसरा सवाल है कि आप कह रहे हैं, राहुल कह रहे हैं कि टॉप रैंकिंग में प्रधानमंत्री सबसे ऊपर है, 70% उनकी रैंकिंग है, या 5वें नंबर पे, 3रे नंबर पे, पहले नंबर पे। देश के 5 पास के पड़ोसी जो देश हैं, उनसे हमारे रिश्ते खराब है, लेकिन हम दुनिया के सबसे लोकप्रिय नेता हैं। इन सारे इश्यूज को अंशुल साहब क्यों प्रेसिपिटेट नहीं कर पा रहे? 80 करोड़ लोगों को अनाज देना और कंट्राडिक्शन इकोनॉमी का, उसको लाभार्थी बना दिया प्रधानमंत्री ने, और आप उस पर बैठे।
2 points. Let Mr. Vempati respond to why 80 crore people need free grains if India is doing so fabulously well, like you're saying.
See, if you look at any of the developed economies, they always have a very strong social security program. Be it the United States, which has social security benefits, it has Medicare benefits, it has food coupons. You go to the Western Europe, you have even talk of universal basic income. So it's a fairly common phenomenon across developed economies that you have a strong social security net Because once you're on this growth path, there will be different dynamics that will play in different parts of the country. So as you're creating these opportunities, you're creating new jobs, bringing in new industries, you need to have the safety net, and that's what is created.
Rahul, I think it is a little not genuine on the part of Vijayji. I respect him a lot. There are many countries, like Sir was saying, in Western Europe particularly, who go to the extent of giving even free bus rides under social welfare. So are you saying those economies are not developed? No. The fact is that an economy rising...
they're at a different stage in their development curve.
No. The point is...
median incomes and their per capita income is much more.
Yes. And therefore you should have lesser requirement to give free bus rides to those citizens. But yet, in the name of social welfare, somebody is giving bus rides to people, but here we are giving basic nutrition to the people. Our food grain storages are full. Instead of allowing them to be wasted, these are being delivered to the people so that their health and nutrition is at a certain optimal level, so that we don't...
Let Nilanjan respond to the argument about comparing Prime Minister Modi with other leaders at a similar stage in their path to power and being in power, 10 years after they've been in power.
Before replying to that question, there's a basic paradox in last year. You would remember that welfare schemes run by other governments, of the other parties, were all branded as Revdi by Mr. Modi. Today, the same welfare schemes which the center runs, they are no longer being talked about as Revdis. Revdi has disappeared. The word Revdi. Do a Google search, find out when Mr. Modi spoke about it last. You will get the answer that he's not talked about it in a large part of 2023, which means that he picks up one issue, floats an idea, but then goes back to it. This, what we say, that rehashing ideas is something which has been very intrinsic to this entire government.
No, but maybe he got feedback it wasn't tracking well and therefore he dropped it. They do their own polling, their survey.
Yeah, it's very convenient, that when something does not suit me, then it is bad. And I need it, I need to do it. I need to announce for 5 years free food because people simply do not have the economic capacities. They are not going to get jobs for the next 5 years.
To be able to what Vijay Trivedi said, that you simply haven't been able to tap into the areas where there is
that is the failure of the Congress.
And channelize it. Even Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay feels the same thing. Kya apna kaam theek se nahi kar rahe boss?
No, that is absolutely not true. There are multiple reasons why this is not getting the kind of propaganda that brand Modi is. We've been relentless in our critique. I think the comparison between the two prime ministers, Rahul, is very apt. Because Margaret Thatcher ran a highly brutal neoliberal regime in which there was massive price rise and unemployment, in which she cut down budgets on health and in education. Right now what this government is doing. And Tony Blair tried to blindside his nation by the WMD bogey. Exactly the kind of deception that we see in the politics of the Prime Minister in case of China, in case of promises that not have been met. So here, I think that there is a mirroring that is going on, and there will be a price to pay. And I think that you've taken up the apt examples. We are doing our job. We've been relentless in our critique. We've been offering alternatives. We took out the Nyaya Yojana. All time and again, we be saying, reduce your expenses, reduce excise duty on petrol and fuel. That will bring down inflation. We have the expenditure, put money in the hands of the poor people. And for God's sake, have a decadal census. You don't even know the number of people. I never said that whether people require food or not.
Okay.
First, find out how many do require.
Okay, I have only a few minutes left in this conversation. The last part of this conversation, I want to look at some of the key strengths and some of the key weaknesses of brand Modi. What can go right and go wrong in the next Lok Sabha campaign? So I'll start with Mr. Vempati. The key couple of strengths that you see, and also looked at from the inside, the weaknesses that worry you.
Sure. So I think the strengths are very clear, right? Strong leadership, very clear sense of purpose, a lot of clarity in terms of where he wants to see India over the next 2 decades, with the idea of Amrit Kal, developed India by 2047. And ensuring this, this momentum that the country has right now on the economic growth path is sustained. So that is, I think, clearly.
Weakness?
In terms of weakness, I think, as I said, the country is complex, it's very diverse. There are a lot of dynamics in different parts of the country, and which is why he is moderating his message relevant to the election in question or the region in question, because the expectations, the aspirations of people across the country can vary, and I think that's a very natural thing because of the kind of nation that we are.
Vijay Trivedi, key strengths, key weaknesses ahead of the next election.
सबसे की स्ट्रेंथ जो है नरेंद्र मोदी की वो क्रेडिबिलिटी, क्रेडिबल फेस है। वो जो बोल रहे हैं वो लोग मान रहे हैं, आप उसको नहीं नकार पा रहे, खासतौर से अपोजिशन में। इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि अपोजिशन को जयप्रकाश नारायण या वीपी सिंह ढूंढना चाहिए नरेंद्र मोदी को हटाने के लिए। मतलब एक मोस्ट क्रेडिबल फेस की जरूरत अपोजिशन को है। और जो वीकनेस है वो है डेमोक्रेटिक फैब्रिक में धीरे धीरे से नुकसान होता जा रहा है।
Okay. Rashid Kidwai.
I think कोई नहीं है टक्कर में. That is the biggest challenge before Modi. That's the
अरे
biggest
है तो सही बेचारा, आपको नहीं लग रहा टक्कर में?
The narrative that you see in
There is
India,
no bichara.
in India, every time there is a powerful leadership, it's always followed by a coalition politics. This has been a trend, and that will happen maybe this time or maybe 5 years later. I think his biggest challenge is his own image. Mr. Modi and BJP is a prisoner of its own propaganda.
तो ये वीकनेस बताई, स्ट्रेंथ तो बता दो.
No, strength is, of course, his proven track record, his ability to convert everything into an opportunity. And, playing to the gallery.
Okay. Playing to the gallery is a bit of a pejorative, hardly a strength, but that's fine. That's the best that Rashid Kidwai can come up with. Shehzad, don't tell me about the strengths. Each time you've spoken, you mentioned the strength. What worries you?
What worries me is that in the haste of trying to defeat one party or one person, the Congress party is in fact even putting its own leadership like Nehru and Indira Gandhi into the dustbins of history, because it was Nehru ji who stopped the OBC caste census. It was Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi who said, na jaat par, na paat par, muhar lagegi haath par. And when an OBC leader like Prime Minister Modi has become a national and an international figure, because they can't stand a chaiwala becoming the Prime Minister, they have come up with this new rules that even Akhilesh won't buy. I'll tell you, my strength is DBT. D for delivery, B for Bhashtachar Mukt, Bharat first, and T for taking India ahead and thinking forward. Think about digital transaction,
you can now
think of
see
UPI, and their DBT is dynasty, Bhashtachar and Tushtikaran.
That's why Shehzad is a rising star. The Prime Minister loves these abbreviations and play with words. He's doing the same. Jaisa boss, Vaisa Shehzad. He's also doing the same, which is a smart thing to do. Anyway, now, hear my question before you respond.
Sure.
What do you think are the Modi government's strengths and what do you think are your weaknesses?
No. The Modi government's strengths are its manufactured popularity, right? That the deception is contorted.
But would that
and
be
given...
your delusion by constantly calling it manufactured popularity?
Yeah.
Is that just
No, but if you're
betraying the
Man Ki
delusion on the
Baat,
part
if school children are made to listen to Man Ki Baat like North Korean kind of thing, then what else is that?
Let Mr. Empathy respond.
Hang on a
Jawasti karke
minute.
aap suna do. This is not fair. He says you round up school children and families and you force them to watch
No,
Man
but
Ki
what
Baat.
is going on?
That's
I mean,
like
there
North
are
Korea,
thousands of
China.
examples, Rahul.
Okay,
There's
he's written a book on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. If you look at Man Ki Baat, what is he talking? He's not talking politics, right? He's talking about societal change. He's talking about cleanliness. He's talking about plastics free. He's talking about protecting the environment. Come on, so how can you object to it?
No, it's absolute torture.
So आपका टॉर्चर है तो आप उस टाइम पे कुछ और कर लो ना.
Question on Janta who are voting for us.
नहीं, अच्छा, मैं बात
No,
कर रहा हूँ.
but respond to my question. Government strengths, your weaknesses.
नहीं, देखिए उनके पास सारी व्यवस्था है, उनके पास सारी संस्थाएं हैं, वो जो मनाए करते हैं, they use them, they weaponize them, they muffle the opposition, they curb civil liberties, there is invasion of privacy और क्या चाहिए? तो ये सब उनकी strengths ही हो गई ना.
And your weaknesses?
तो हमारी हम चाहते हैं कि किसी तरह ये जो गलत फहमियां फैलाई जा रही हैं उनको काउंटर करे और फोर्सफुली करे.
That's hardly a weakness.
अरे वो कर नहीं पा रहे.
Rahul.
Okay,
और हमने स्टेट्स में किया
okay,
है, हम जीत भी रहे हैं.
Nilanjan
Only
Mukhopadhyay.
one
No,
weakness.
because the question is framed slightly differently to everyone. To you, what according to you are the government strengths and its biggest weaknesses before the next election?
Government and the BJP both. First is, of course, unmatched resources. Second is an organization which cannot be challenged. The network as well as the amount of time and energy which the leadership spends into it. Third is the ability to convert every contest, every election into a referendum on Modi. Modi is the issue. That is the one. And then the weaknesses when we talk about, I think the biggest weakness is that, there's also the issue of the rise of the Tina factor. That is also one major strength of Mr. Modi in the sense that there is no real alternative. That is the constant question being faced. But here is also the indication of the first weakness, that in 2014, Mr. Modi was the solution. Today, Mr. Modi is being looked at because there is no alternative. So maybe a solution does not exist because Mr. Modi has not been able to solve the problems. That is why free food for 80 crore people.
Okay.
There's also the problem that so far there is no overreaching political narrative in the country. It's a situation very similar to what was there in 2018 prior to Pulwama. Pulwama, if you remember, changed the entire narrative.
Do you think there'll be something like a Pulwama?
In 2000,
are you suspecting something like that?
I think, no, I'm not getting into that. What I'm trying to remind people is that in 2018 January, the BJP negotiated with the Shiv Sena and accepted what it was demanding. That is hardly a BJP type of a reaction. That accept
no,
an
but
ally's
there's a lot of
demands.
conspiracy
So
kuch to ho jayega. There'll be something that happens.
I am not
which
anticipating.
polarizes
I am
people.
stating the fact that at the moment the BJP does not have an overreaching national narrative. It's very similar to what was there in 2018. Pulwama happened, changed the narrative for 2019, gave them 303 seats, gave them a huge majority in what we can consider to be the Hindutva belt of states, North, Central and Western India.
So we've had a very sharp conversation, different points of view, very passionately argued and articulated, and that's not very often. You know, usually you would have somebody banging things at each other, you know, turning this into a tu-tu mai-mai. We were able to stay away from that. So I'm deeply thankful to our guests for joining us.
Thanks.
And for all of you for sitting through this conversation. Thank you very much. Deeply appreciate your time. Thank you.
Continuing rescue operations at the Silkiara tunnel in Uttarakhand. No good news, I'm afraid, because not just did the auger machine break down, all efforts made so far to reach the 41 trapped workers have come to naught. Now vertical drilling has started, the Indian Army leading those operations in the hope of being able to find a way in from the top if they're not able to get in horizontally. Meanwhile, rat workers applying the concept of ferreting out the debris have swung into action in the hope that they can reach the trapped workers if the machines aren't able to get there first. Ashutosh Mishra and Amit Bhardwaj with this ground report.
A race against time and massive rocks to extricate 41 trapped tunnel workers stuck inside the Silkiara tunnel. Rescue workers have now started vertical drilling from the top of the tunnel, trying to go past 86 meters to reach the area where the workers are trapped and ready the escape passage. If successful, the 1.2 meter diameter pipes will be used to hoist the workers up. But the entire exercise may take another 3 days at least.
We've still got 1,000 kilometres to go. Whether you measure it as 10 metres or whether you measure it as 30 or 40 metres, for us it's 1,000 kilometres. So we're making progress.
The horizontal drilling from the Silkiara side was stalled after the blades of the auger machine got stuck in debris. Efforts are now on for manual drilling using rat miners. The miners will have to dig another 10 meters before reaching the trapped workers.
एक बार में कितना मलबा तकरीबन आप उसमें रख पाएंगे, कोई आइडिया है अभी?
एक तसले में 6-7 किलो बनेगा और कितना बनेगा?
6-7 किलो। तो इसमें कई घंटों का काम है, ये देख रहे हैं आप, है ना? ड्रिलर आपने रखा हुआ है, ये किस काम आएगा?
ये मतलब कोई पत्थर अगर बड़ा सा आता है मुंह पर पाइप के, तो इससे अगर टूटता है तो इससे तोड़ा जाएगा।
अच्छा, आप लोगों को क्या इसके पहले भी एक्सपीरियंस है, कहीं किया है आप लोगों ने, या पहला समय होगा जब ये काम करेंगे?
नहीं, ये काम तो हम लोग काफी सालों से कर रहे हैं। इसका एक्सपीरियंस है, हम लोग कर देंगे, इतना है तजुर्बा।
The Prime Minister's office is keeping a close watch on the rescue mission. The Prime Minister's Principal Secretary P.K. Mishra, Home Secretary Ajay Bhalla and Uttarakhand Chief Secretary S.S. Sandhu arrived in Silkiara tunnel and spoke to workers via phone.
अभी आज तो हम आए हैं, मैं आया हूँ प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफिस से, होम सेक्रेटरी साहब भी आए हैं, सब लोग काफ़ी मेहनत कर रहे हैं। जितने जल्दी आप लोगों को निकाला जा सकता है कोशिश सब कर रहे हैं।
एजेंसियां काम कर रही हैं। आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी लगातार इनके बारे में जानकारी भी कर रहे हैं। जरूरी जो काम होने हैं उनके लिए भी लोगों को उन्होंने सबको लगाया है। पूरे देश की एजेंसियां लगी हैं, विदेशों के लोग भी लगे हैं। जल्दी से जल्दी ये काम होगा, यही आश्वस्त किया है सबको।
It is a race against weather too, as Silkiara may witness rains. The Met Department has sounded an orange alert.
हम लोग जो है मेनली उत्तराखंड के लिए, हिमाचल के लिए आज हम लोग वार्निंग दे रहे हैं कि ओले गिर सकता है, लाइटनिंग थंडरस्टॉर्म होगा।
Rescuers are also mulling other options like horizontal drilling from the barcode end of the tunnel.
Suppose this tube, this plastic tube is the tunnel which has the length of 4.5 kilometer. Now this is the front portion. You see this the piece of mud here. This is exactly the length, width is 60 meters. Now the auger machine was installed here. Going inside at around 48.9 meters, it got stuck. There was a huge net of the metals. The auger blades literally crashed. Now that has been cleared from the pipe. The pipe is already 48.9 meters inside. It's nearly required 10 meters to go. As the pipe is already at certain point, it requires 10-meter drilling. The team of the rat miners, experts who are expert in tunneling, going in the micro tunneling in the mines, they'll enter inside. There's a team of 11. At a time, there will be 3, one by one going inside. One will be start penetrating. That will be a 6-hour rotation shift. One will be penetrating, clearing out debris, cutting down with the hexa blade, with the diamond blades, with the gas cutter, with the plasma cutter. Another will help to clear the debris. It will be a time-taking process, but once they clear a way for the pipe, the auger machine will start pushing the pipe inside. It is time-taking, but a safe way, safe method. Maybe in 3 to 4 days there will be a breakthrough, and this 10-meter will be crossed. Maybe even 48 hours.
The trapped workers are meanwhile getting nutritious meals like boiled eggs, bread and sattu laddu. Doctors are also providing them with medicine and counselling. The workers also have access to a landline to speak to loved ones and have been provided with mobile phones to play video games.
As on Monday at 1 p.m., there was 36 meters of the drilling, but the challenges are yet to come as there will be debris on the way and even the metal structures for being carried out this vertical operations. Against all odds, to bring some hope, the man force of 2,000 people round the clock carrying out this operation in this difficult hilly terrain to ensure safety of 41 workers in the Silkiara tunnel. In Uttarkashi, right outside Silkiara tunnel with Mridula Ashutosh Mishra for India Today.
A political dogfight has now erupted over Prime Minister Modi's sortie in the Tejas light combat aircraft. Senior Trinamool leader Shantanu Sen referred back to the Panauti attack, saying that now that the Prime Minister has flown in the Tejas, an LCA was going to crash. Now, not just is this terribly unfortunate, to even think that something like this would happen to India's indigenously manufactured fighter aircraft, it's led to a massive showdown between the BJP and the opposition.
Narendra Modi, the first Prime Minister to take a sortie in Made in India Tejas fighter jet, testifying the nation's unflinching faith in the Desi fighter jet, set to become the mainstay of India's air combat fleet. But the spectacular show in the air has sparked a ferocious political war. Congress and Trinamool Congress had huge meltdown over Modi's Tejas sortie. Congress called Modi's fighter jet ride a Chunavi photo op, highlighting how Tejas was designed by Aeronautics Development Agency, which was established under Indira Sarkar in 1984. However, TMC MP Shantanu Sen crossed all limits when he claimed that Tejas jets will crash since Prime Minister Modi sat in one.
When Mr. Narendra Modi was very much there in the country, the ISRO failed. After winning 10 consecutive matches in the recently held World Cup, just because our learned Prime Minister went to that stadium, India got defeated in the final. Now, he the job has been done by Narendra Modi, I am afraid that in no time this particular craft gets crashed.
In a scathing attack, BJP hit out at the TMC MP for wanting to crash Tejas jets and wishing deaths for the forces, driven by hatred for Prime Minister Modi.
It shows the hatred that they have not just for the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, but they hate the welfare of Bharat as well.
The bizarre remark of the TMC MP was rubbished by his own party.
ये तेजस की बात नहीं है, वो लोग कभी धर्म के नाम पे, कभी यूथ के नाम पे, हाँ, यूथ और ये उग्र जो है नेशनलिज्म, उसका पॉलिटिक्स कर रहा है. हम लोग ये कंडेम कर रहा है. वो तेजस है, तो तेजस तो अलग चीज है.
Does the political dogfight come as a new political law for our motor-mouth netas? Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where we wrap up the NewsTrack tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. Tomorrow we'll have a special edition of the Political Stock Exchange where we will focus on the key battleground state of Telangana. That's the one state that has political observers and politicians most confused. What are the ground reports saying? What is the data indicating? All that and more in a special edition of the Political Stock Exchange at 8 p.m. tomorrow.